Hey everybody, BTO Pro here. Here's a quick tour of HAX CMS in its latest state. So, HAX CMS, just refresh this page. I've got it running locally in DDev. And so it's going to kind of be set up to organize just my microsites. And it wants you to be able to take these microsites anywhere, even outside of HAX afterwards. So let's make a new one, shall we? Let's make it about Elms LN. It's a system I build. So Elms LN, a blog about Elms stuff. Okay, and we'll use a snowflake icon. Let's make it look like a blog, although I could make it look like a book. All right, so for the moment, after I do that, I have to hit refresh to get this page to refresh. But what it did when I submitted that is it wrote this little data blob in here. And this is a JSON file. The whole HAX CMS is built off of JSON files and a PHP that just processes basically to write things to the right locations. So this is in a format called JSON outline schema. You can look it up at a later point in time. The other thing it did is it made a little Elms LN folder here to match the name, and then it stamped out a microsite. All of the files for the microsite will live in pages or the files directory. In fact, if we look at index.html real quick, you'll see all it is a single tag, because it's built in web components, single tag on the interface that points to a JSON file, in this case, this JSON file. And so you can see this is effectively driving the entire site. So HAX CMS isn't going to be for some crazy high scale giant number of assets website. We're talking get microsites up and off the ground really quickly and be able to theme them if you just know web components. So we're going to start making more themes as this thing keeps progressing. Anyway, let's go to Elms LN then. So on here, hit access site, it pops open, and it's going to present me with the medium blog theme here that we've got. And my CPU is spiking on having a code editor and multiple VMs running. So you can see I'm logged in here. It's got my little icon there. It's got this background image. And I see new page because this is where the little blog post would be. I can open this little editor menu and I can add a new piece of content, or I can check out the outline. In this case, the outline right now is that JSON outline schema that I could actually reach out and manipulate right here if I wanted to. So I could say, like my first post, and hit save, and you see it actually updated that and reflected it correctly in the page right there. So that updated some JSON behind the scenes. What else is fun going on here is it's putting this in version control. So let's visualize that real quick. You can see there was an outline bulk update just a second ago when I made that change. And the changes involved were the title changed to my first post, and the updated timestamp was tweaked for these. Something else I could do with this, I could update the identifier in question here, point it to a new page. So post 1. Like if I really wanted that to be post 1, it'll move it around in the file system, and you can see that reorganized and made the git commit. So it's really useful for keeping track of where these things move. That's actually why I decided on directory names with index.html for all of them. It's a lot easier to move these folders around and witness the change instead of the file name changing, because the file name changing can get, I don't know why, in Git. So anyway, let's work on this site then. Write my first post, why don't we? So when I go to my first post, if there's something in scope right now, you see it says I'm working on my first post, I could edit it or delete it. Obviously I don't want to delete it. I hit edit, and it swipes over the controls with this save button. So this is my first blog post using HAX CMS, the most crazy decoupled authoring experience there is. So I could write that, I could duplicate that paragraph if I'm working on it, I could maybe define what decoupled is. Uber decoupled. So that if I hit save, got my content there, someone could hit Uber decoupled and see the word Uber decoupled or put whatever they wanted in there. Right, so I just made an accessible blog post that has a dialogue window in it with content in it, and I didn't have to think. So this is kind of what we're going for ultimately with HAX and HAX CMS. So if I wanted to find something on Wikipedia and we'll search for Drupal, which is what we used to do a lot of work in, I could present information about Drupal here and be like, look, a while ago we would have used Drupal. If you don't know what Drupal is, that's fine. No one under 35 does. That's a little, I always like to mock myself. So, we have some minor layout and templating capabilities. Let's say I wanted to throw in like 4 columns because I wanted to bump that up, and then I wanted to upload some media. So I just drag and dropped an image. I want to present that one as a meme. Haha, you did it. For my very first image in this grid. Maybe I can move it around or what have you. So let's take another placeholder content, and I could upload file there. We'll do that one as a self-check, right? So there's all kind of ways that I can manipulate this information in order to present it. Let's throw up another image. I'm just mostly trying to generate files of the file system. Could add a caption to it. This is a screenshot of something I did the other day. Okay, that helped me validate that that's half decent alt metadata. Let's style it a little bit, place it there. We'll actually shrink it way down. Or we could, take the entire grid in question, and we could say, take that thing. We'll move it over there. Move this one. To actually, I want to get rid of that other column. So I'm going to move those over to there, and I'm going to make it 3 column now. There we go. Update, and we've got our columns in place. Let's take the whole grid and make it a little bit smaller and then center it for no reason. Do you see what I'm doing here? I'm just kind of attempting to do as much as I possibly can while talking and not really having a plan as to how I was going to present any of this to illustrate how utterly absurd this is, right? Because this stuff would work anywhere. I exited out of that prematurely. But this stuff would work anywhere. But this is, showcasing it in HAX CMS in this case. So hit save. Let's look at what happened in Git. And there are my changes as I was going along. You can see the images I uploaded. Also tracked in Git. You can also see that they got associated to my post in site.json. So now I've still only got my one post there, but let's say I wanted to add another one. The future of business, because I'm such a deep thinker on that. So I could create a new post, and again, I have to do some little, state management update stuff to make sure that that actually updates. But so there's the future of business being updated there. It created a reference on the file system, and again, it made a new page, and it put it in version control automatically. So then I could take, this is the future of business, and if I wanted to delete it, it's an important other consideration. Hey, delete the future of business. Again, little minor state thing, hit refresh, it goes away because it's no longer valid. If I look in here, we'd see that it didn't actually delete the page, that was by design. It deleted the reference from the JSON outline schema, so then it just won't render it. I mentioned theming before, and I need to wire up this part of the UI. There's, not to say there aren't things to add here. Oh, another fun thing you can do is I could take this data, and so you can inspect it and mess with it if you wanted to, but you can see here under metadata that there's all these images associated with the posting that I just made a minute ago. I could actually copy and paste this and get a whole bunch of posts real fast. We're working on an actual little outliner so you can move the pages around, but If I wanted to manipulate this stuff even further and say turn this into a course outline, now imagine that button did the equivalent of what I'm going to do here, which is change this to an app book. Right? It's not that hard to conceive of that could work. This is what we're talking about with decoupled. So here's that same information presented in a completely different UI, flow of information. But I still know how to edit stuff and add stuff. Right? It has the state management issue in question isn't the theme's problem now. That's actually HAX CMS's problem. So, the fact that I created these little edit tools, these edit tools now work kind of design agnostic. And so I know how to use these two radically different ways of presenting material, but my material that I've worked on isn't actually tied to either one of them. Another fun thing, and this gets into what this is going towards, I'll paste that link into Safari. Now in Safari, I'm not logged in. So you don't get the authoring tools. You just can, jump between the items in question, which there's no content on those pages. I do have to do a little bit of design cleanup in Safari. But this is kind of the idea we're going for here, is this system agnostic way of going about doing this, right? It just works across all platforms. It could run with or without HAX. In this case, you're seeing it without HAX. These are just static files served up. Let's open a incognito window, actually, that I think illustrates it better. Safari has a couple little flexbox issues. So there we go. So I could jump between these pages, and you don't see any, make sure it's the same size as the window, so you can tell I'm not cheating there. You don't see any of the authoring tools because I don't have the JSON web tokens that would allow that to happen. So that is kind of the state of everything associated with this project. Going to be putting a lot more effort into it next week and polishing things up further. But as always, you can check this out at github.com/elmsln/HAXCMS.